Hello to all the Atlanta United fans. My name is Jurgen Damm, and you are watching Scarves and Spike, an Atlanta United podcast.
Scarves and Spikes match review podcast. Let's take a look back at Atlanta United's 2-0 loss to the New York Red Bulls at Sports Illustrated Stadium. I'm sitting at Jackson with you. Jackson, I had to make sure I didn't say Red Bull Arena, which of course is his former name, but now it's
Sports It'll always be Red Bull Arena in my heart.
It's been like that for a while. But it takes a little bit getting used to. But whether it's Red Bull Arena or Sports Illustrated Stadium, Atlanta
doesn't matter apparently.
Okay, I get it. And here's in New Jersey. There's something about that city, Jackson. I feel like there's something about that.
Nothing good ever comes out of New Jersey.
Bruce Springsteen fans would disagree on that, by the way. But no, 2-0, a loss to the New York Red Bulls. You go into the break, or you go into this match, in good form. You have won 2 matches in a row against 2 of the better teams in MLS and certainly Eastern Conference and FC Cincinnati. Although we get a little fraud alert at FC Cincinnati after another loss, back-to-back losses for them, and then beating Orlando City in comeback fashion. So you're kind of flying high in my way. Who also lost to the Chicago Fire.
I think the moral of the story here is Atlanta United will make or break your season. If you are playing Atlanta United, your team will either skyrocket or plummet, and there's no in between.
Exactly. And kind of funny how that they both lost on the same night, both Cincinnati and obviously the Red Bulls. The Orlando City.
The purple team.
The purple team. I don't know why I had trouble thinking about that.
Those guys.
Yeah, those guys from the Sunshine Florida. I can't talk this episode. I don't know what it is. I can't talk. But
it's that birthday hangover, which happy belated birthday.
Thank you. Sydney. Thank you very much. It's also my wedding month. So I'll be getting married later this month. So
big month.
All of that is kind of catching up to me just a little bit here. But coming in, the point is coming in, you're kind of flying high for your Atlanta United. Again, you want 2 straight. First time since last year that you won 2 straight. You come into Orlando or New Jersey saying, maybe we could finally make something happen in the place that has traditionally been unkind to us. And what happened?
I feel like Lee Corso, not so fast, my friend.
Yeah, exactly.
We were all feeling good. We felt great. 2 wins in a row. Could they do the impossible? And the Red Bulls just brought Atlanta United right back down to earth.
Yeah, and really for the beginning, Miguel Marone with the shocking giveaway that Red Bulls pounce on, and you make mistakes. They punish you. They know how to punish you, and I feel like Atlanta United, that's been their trademark that Henry and I talked about on 3 Takeaways. If you haven't watched that, definitely watch that on YouTube. But we talked about that, right? This team just continued to shoot itself in the foot, and it's been Miguel Marone to make a mistake like that. I think that's one of the worst. He usually doesn't do that. I've never seen him make a miscue like that leads directly to a goal. But Campbell Harper scores. A little bit of a breakdown defensively right before the half-hour mark. Eric Maxime Choupo-Moting, former PSG, former Bayern Munich player, who's been on a pretty good run of form. He scores, so it's 2-0 before the half hour, and all of a sudden you're chasing the match against a team where it's very difficult to chase the match against, considering the way they play, considering the way they press, and love to value the ball. And we saw that again on Saturday.
Yeah, Sydney, if you remember the last time I hopped on one of these, the 2 of us went back and forth looking at Atlanta United's next run of games, which ended with this Red Bulls game.
Yeah.
And I think between the two of us, we each predicted like 4 or 5 points out of the run of games,
Yeah.
and they exceeded it somehow.
Yeah.
The 2 wins, so that run would have gotten them, I think 7 points, if I'm remembering right. They're
Yeah.
drawing there, Austin.
Yeah.
So
Still not great,
despite it all, they're still exceeding some expectations.
Exactly.
So if you want to look at it that way.
Yeah. No, and exactly. And again, you want to definitely keep that going into the break, and we'll get Tyler here shortly. You want to go into the break. You have this week and a half long break, international break, before you go again, and you want to go in there with a wave of momentum, having won 3 matches in a row. And unfortunately, you aren't able to do that. Again, Red Bulls, like I said earlier, they're a team that they love to possess the ball. They don't.
And at home, they're just a black hole for teams. I mean,
Exactly.
they have, I think, the best home record in the league, despite, where are they in the table?
Yeah.
They're sixth, so they're sixth in the East,
Uh-huh.
but home record, they've got more points than anyone.
7 wins, that's the most in the league.
Yeah, there's something about Red Bull Arena / Sports Illustrated Stadium that teams just can't get past. And
Right.
Atlanta United especially. I mean, I don't know many other teams in the league that struggle in specific stadiums as much as Atlanta United does at Red Bulls. I think I heard that Minnesota had never won at Lumen Field in Seattle. And I think last I checked, they were on their way to breaking that streak.
Yeah, as we're recording this, Minnesota United have to be the Seattle Sounders. That got kind of wild. Seattle scored a little bit late to make it the match, but Minnesota hold on. But yeah, that is definitely a tough place to play. Yankee Stadium, for other reasons, is another tough place to play. And Atlanta United used to be that place. Mercedes Stadium used to be that place, but alas, it is not anymore. So we'll definitely, obviously, talk about the match and try to get you all's thoughts as well. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeart, we have the chat going on YouTube. So we'll take some thoughts and observations for those in the chat. Tyler is a little bit late. He is hopping on now, and love to get his thoughts. Tyler, what happened on Saturday?
They did exactly what I said don't do. Like, freaking, they went up to Red Bull Arena. Whatever.
There you go. Color for the jar.
Defunct Magazine Stadium and
dying brand.
No, they went and they decided to basically fall right into the Red Bulls trap. I said it over and over again. I mean, not that anything I say has a say on anything that the team does, but like common sense to me dictated you go up on 3 matches in 6 days, go to their home. They're going, whatever that place is called. They're gonna want to press you and overwhelm you and play their game at their stadium. That's what they do. Their playbook. It's not a secret.
Yeah.
Everybody knows what Red Bulls are gonna do or what they're gonna want to do. If they have possession, they don't like it. And yet Atlanta tried to play through the press that they've tried to do since 2017, and it yet again did not work. And it's just frustrating. I mean, the first goal, stupid, dumb mistake. Again, it comes back to trying to play through that frantic press, and Miggy makes a dumb pass, and you get punished on it. And the second one, I mean, it's a soccer goal. Like it happens.
Get caught on the break, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. But now the team, I will say this: a 2-0 loss sucks, regardless. This is not, to me, in my opinion, the same type of loss that we were seeing, a month and a half, 2 months ago. I think that there's some life in the team. There was something there, but you're also looking at a team that played 3 matches in 6 days. So you have to attribute a lot of it to that. But that being said, I wasn't a big fan of the tactics. I wasn't a big fan of, maybe the movements with the subs and things like that. And it was just frustrating to watch because exactly what you knew was going to happen happened.
Yeah, but I feel like, I hear what you're saying. I feel like a lot of that is a little bit easier said than done, right? I feel like, you said you just get burned by an early mistake by on the run, and right away you're chasing the Mats. So I feel like at that point, all the tactics start out the window. You have to maybe force yourself to play through that press because right away you're chasing the match. Not even 5 minutes in, you try to get that goal back. Ultimately, it doesn't come back. But by and large, if you look at the match itself, Atlanta United weren't bad. They didn't play poorly. They, of course, get punished on the first goal. Second goal, maybe a little bit of a defensive breakdown, but ultimately, what can you do at that point? Choupo-Moting, man in form, veteran World Cup player, some of the biggest clubs in the world, scores. So if you look at, I agree with what you said. There was life. There were some moments, and Brad said the same thing in his press conference. There's a few moments, but they fizzled out. And I think that's been symptomatic of what this team hasn't been able to do, not only through this losing streak, or the winless streak, but all throughout the season, even during the matches against Cincinnati and Orlando. They had these half chances. Of course, they struck gold ultimately, but they certainly weren't able to make things happen like they happened against Cincinnati and Orlando. And just real quick, that speaks to your DPs needing to raise their level of play. And again, that didn't happen against Red Bulls.
Yeah. To Tyler's point about the 3 matches, 3 matches in a week.
Yeah.
This team did not rotate like the Red Bulls did in the midweek. I think there were 5 changes to the New York Red Bulls starting 11 between Wednesday's match against Charlotte and yesterday against Atlanta United. And they rested their DPs and the ones that are healthy. You got Forsberg and Choupo-Moting, Choupo-Moting came in off the bench, scored a brace.
Yeah.
But the Red Bulls set up their squad, their roster so much deeper than what Atlanta United has right now. I don't think Ronny Deila could have afforded to rotate in this match. I mean,
I agree.
He found a working combination of players over the previous 2 matches. And if you were to rotate that, throw a wrench in that scheme and that setup with players who were just starting to build that chemistry together, I mean, they could have gone out and lost even worse. And then you're back to square one. And at least here we're seeing from Ronnie some consistency in the lineups. Like he may have found his combination that he can lock in, set his sights on, and develop moving forward. He'll have an extra week to do it this upcoming week, but the jury's out on a run of away games for this long, and six straight away games. If that is conducive to building a cohesive team that hasn't yet gelled together.
No, and you brought up a good point about having that cohesive lineup. I don't fault Ronny Deila for the lineup that he put out, and we can kind of argue about tactics, but ultimately they weren't good enough on the day. And again, it goes back to my point about the DPs. You need your DPs to be game changers. Yes, obviously there's fatigue, and certainly I'm not taking that away from Atlanta United, but again, you're not seeing your DPs putting your team in a position to win. Latte Lot scored, but it was taken off. I don't know why it was. I haven't seen any indication why it was.
I still do not know. I looked at that replay. It was an offside decision.
I don't know. If you're the AER, I don't know how you make that call that quickly. Maybe he sees it from the bench.
Derek that
because Derek's the one that received the ball. And maybe it was a flag came up, so that's the call on the field you have to be forced to overturn. And when it's not clear and obvious to overturn the call on the field, it is what it is.
That's so objective. I mean, that's so objective, though. I think what's clear and obvious. So I looked just real quick. I looked at the loss of the game. What constitutes offside? and your head can be outside. Essentially any part of your body that you can play the ball with. So your feet, obviously, and then your head.
Mhm.
If any of those are offside, then you can get flagged by the AR. And I feel like that's what happened. I don't know. Again, I didn't see the
I don't think
explanation
the angle
was or
was
anything like that.
directly right on
Yeah,
with the line that the Red
but
Bulls set on that free kick.
yeah, but at the end of the day, you have to kind of rise above that and really put yourself in the position to make plays. Now, again, we didn't see a lot of service to Latte Lot, so I don't want to fault him a lot, but still, he got some chances to score goals. I think it didn't happen again.
Yeah, and I think that's part of my overall frustration with just the way that Atlanta kind of played this match. You should be finding any reason and excuse to play. I don't want to say over the top all the time. That's not true. That's first of all, it's trash football, but it is what it is. I don't care if it gets you a win, it gets you a win. But it's predictable, right? You can't just sit there and bomb the ball over the top over and over again. And anybody that says that's what you should be doing, I mean, look, you got to run the ball to open up the pass game, vice versa. Like you can't just do the same thing over and over again. So, I mean, yeah, you Atlanta's going to default to try to play with the ball, right? Play through, not as much as like when Pineda was here, but Dyla still wants to have the ball.
Yeah,
Atlanta, the way that the team is built right now, and I think we've all seen it, is stronger when they try to hit on the counter because they have the speed. I'm not saying anything that's like otherworldly right now. Like you have one of the fastest soccer players in this hemisphere on your team, and you're not getting him the ball. And he's proven that when you do, play the ball over the top or you do play those through balls, he's gonna get on the end of them. He's gonna give you more of a fight than either Yakimakis did or Joseph did in terms of taking on guys 1v1, winning those duels, and then breaking away with the ball. He's shown he can do it, but you're not giving him the service. He's
Yeah.
having to drop back, farther into the midfield to try
like
to
a
get the
false
ball.
knife.
Yeah, and it's defeating the entire purpose of having a guy with that much speed. So it's not just his fault. Yes, Miggy and Latte Latpa, they've got to get the numbers. At the end of the day, that's what matters. But if there was any team that you were just going to say, hey, screw you, let's bomb the ball at the top, it would have been against Red Bulls because they're going to try to press you. You take away the press entirely when you try to play over the top and not take too many risks at the back. And they just didn't do that. And I think that's just kind of what irritates me about the way that this game was played in general.
Why didn't they do that, though? I guess I want to ask you.
I mean, I think it's kind of like what Jackson was saying earlier. I think it's trying to continue to build on all the positivity that you had from the last couple of matches. You're trying to continue because you don't want to change your game for one team necessarily, right? I think you do need to be more pragmatic. But I mean, what you were doing against Cincinnati and Orlando, even though it was kind of ugly at times, it worked and you were building something. So I understand going into like this third match and just saying, hey, we're going to stick to what has been working and try to keep making it work and build on it. The problem is Cincinnati and Orlando are two totally different teams compared to Red Bulls entirely.
Sure. Yeah.
And I think that's where it doesn't need to be a wholesale change, but it just needs to be like, hey, man, we know what the Red Bulls are going to do. And there is a key here to counter what they want to do. And we just have to make it happen. And they didn't do that. It just so happens that the key to making that happen against the Red Bulls is probably one of your biggest strengths in guys that have speed in Latte Laf and Miggy.
Yeah, again, I just feel like it's easier said than done. I feel like if the solution was there, I feel like Dyla would have done it, but ultimately he didn't, and ultimately goes down as a loss for Atlanta United. Brad Guzan, I don't think you can really fault him any of the two goals. Just putting that out there. I know it's kind of said that, but I just think you can't really fault him. First goal is just a bad giveaway. Second goal, like you said, Tyler, just kind of a soccer goal. So I think he did good in goal. One thing that did stick out to me, though, is Cameron Harper for Red Bulls. I think Atlanta just couldn't cope with him all night. He was just running up the field. beating the backs. Certainly Amador.
Yeah, Amador got
And-
burned on the
Yeah.
second goal there.
Yeah. So it's just, he's not obviously not a superstar in MLS. Harper is, or it's not, I should say. But yeah, that's one of the things that troubled me all throughout the night, and they're making mention of it on the broadcast when we were able to see it, of course, apart from the fact when I guess the internet went out at the stadium. I know,
A blessing in
I know the
disguise.
radio.
Apparently, like the radio went out and everything. Yeah.
Radio went out as well. But yeah, that was one of the things that troubled me. What do you guys think of the substitutions at the second half? Lennon came in, Cod came in, and I'm sorry, who was it? Lennon came in, correct? No, I think he.
Lennon came on.
Triple sub.
Noah Cobb and Mateus
That's
Click
right,
were the
that's
halftime
I
subs.
think the match kind of changed when they came in a little bit for the better. I mean, ultimately you don't score, but you saw a few pockets of chances, a few chances here and there, half chances that ultimately didn't come to pass. And I agree with what Tyler Terrence was saying on the call. If Atlanta United had scored a goal that was opening things up, I think they would be able to take that momentum. I feel like there are stretches where maybe they're kind of the better team, or at least they're able to manage what Red Bulls were doing just a little bit better than they did in the first half. So that was encouraging. The problem is just the starts and the poor beginnings and the poor mistakes that have continued to hurt this team time after time. I think that's something that we've been talking about for years for this team, and we still managed to kind of come out on the wrong side of things when it comes to that.
Yeah, I'll leave y'all with this because I'm just getting home, and so
Yeah.
I'm gonna run and let y'all have at it. I think overall, like as far as the subs are concerned, you had to make them.
Right.
I don't know. Now is probably not the time to like go and dive into, when the subs were made, were they put in the positions that were going to benefit them the most? I don't necessarily think they were. Not just the subs, but the way that like the pieces were all moved on the chessboard when that happened. I don't know, man. I think a lot of it was just exhaustion, and I think we knew that they were going to have to make early subs in this game, like that. We talked about it on the pre-match show, everything. Some of these guys were playing, they were on 180 minutes plus. So in 6 days, like that's a ridiculous amount of running.
Thanks, MLS.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, awesome. And then you don't want to pay players for Club World anyway.
It's another topic.
That's
for another
MLS
day.
Monday tomorrow, guys. Tune back in. But no, I mean, I think trying to like dive too deep into kind of the way that the subs were made and like where they were put on the field in this game might be kind of a moot point just because of the exhaustion. And I don't know that you're going to get a whole lot of like valuable data out of it.
Yeah.
But it is a good sign when they come on and you're still chipping away, right? I mean, you do get a goal, even though it's called back. So there's signs there, right? And it's kind of the same thing I said after the Philly match. Philly, you lost 1-0. It sucked, but there were positives there. And then what do you do after that match? You went and won the next two and broke a really bad streak. So now Dyla has time to sit back, pull everybody into the room, look at the board and the tactics and everything else that they've got going on and say, all right, we have a moment here. Let's look at what worked. Let's look at what's clearly not working and try to find that last little tweak that might actually unlock this team. So
I agree. The break gives you a chance to do that.
Yeah.
Take
All right,
advantage
I'm gonna
of it. All right. Thanks
Tyler.
for stopping by.
Good seeing you.
See you soon. No, I think that's a big thing, though. You have this week and a half break to kind of refocus, get recentered, and hopefully when you come out of this break, you're able to do so with a clear head. You're able to do so putting behind 17 matches that you've been through already, or really bad 17 matches outside of a couple of wins, and then go through the next of this season, the second half of the season, focused and just revitalized. And I think that's going to be key for Atlanta United going into this next week and a half.
Now, the team you come back against, you're playing at Yankee Stadium.
Yeah.
Not to go ahead and set excuses up, but that's another potential black hole of a stadium for
Yeah.
Atlanta United to fall into.
Yeah.
And especially yesterday, there's just so many extenuating factors. I mean, the fixture congestion, the Red Bulls factor of it all. It is hard to get great data from the match. I mean, does Miggy make that back pass, a week ago before having played? I mean, Miguel Almiron has the third most minutes of anyone this
Right.
season. It goes Brad Guzan, obviously, and then Alexi and Miggy are the next 2 and 3 on the players that have played the most minutes of anyone for Atlanta United this year. And I mean, for players that are, I'm not calling Miguel Almiron ancient,
Right.
but 31 years old, his legs
He's
aren't
not young anymore.
what they were, back in 2017, 2018. This rest will be really, really valuable for him, for Alexi, for the coaching staff.
No.
And you have some good data points to draw from too. You have the previous 2 wins coming into this one at home. Well, I mean, Orlando, you can say wasn't exactly a neutral playing field. I mean, the red card and tactically everything went out the window. They were playing with one center back on Wednesday night towards the end there, pushing for that late goal, which they thankfully ended up getting. But this team has been worked. I mean, it took a lot of effort in those against Cincinnati. I mean, that was a back and forth match.
Yeah.
And against Orlando, another back and forth, another very physical match where you left it late. This team will benefit from this upcoming bye week. And before they start hitting the road,
getting back on the road
coming up here. And then you're playing, and it's on a Thursday too. So you got a Thursday, a Wednesday, a Saturday.
You're all over the place.
I mean, and you've got a rough schedule coming up the next 3 games. And you're away to Columbus, away to Miami. This break coming up couldn't have come at a better time for this team. They need to get their legs back under them. Really get the chance to sit down and review the past week,
Right.
Much like we're doing now. Review the past week and figure out a way forward, because you've seen things work at long last. You saw a formation that gave you the ability to go out there and beat some of the top teams in the conference.
Yeah.
And now you're going up against more teams up there towards the top of the East later this month. So having a set strategy, I feel like you've found something that you can work with.
Right.
And now Dyla and the coaching staff can get in and start fine-tuning. You weren't able to do that earlier on. You were going 4 in the back, 3 in the back, 5 in the back, whatever, trying to find a base level formation that works for you, that you can get results with this squad. Because I mean, there was no idea at the first few weeks of the season. I mean, now what you have to work with is more tangible. You'll have players. I don't know how far out Stian Gregerson is.
Yeah, that's a good question.
From returning from injury. I'd love it if he could come back sooner than later, because Lord knows the back line needs it. So if you can get players like Stian back from injury, Tristan Muyumba, and you can input them into a tactic and a setup that can work, which you didn't have before.
Yeah.
And I think once you can roll with that, you can make incremental improvements, changes, and hopefully Second half of the season after this international break, Club World Cup, if he can hit the ground running, I mean, maybe there's something in there.
It's hard to believe we're already halfway through the season.
What a fever
Yeah, I
dream,
know.
huh?
It feels like the season just started. But that's the mentality has to be for Atlanta. We're halfway through. It's not early anymore. You're now 17 games in and 17 games on the other side on the back end. So you got to buckle down. You showing some promise, a lot more promise that you showed through the winless streak, at least outside of Philadelphia. But now you're able to get a couple of wins against Cincinnati and Orlando and show that, hey, we have in our locker that we can stack up against the top teams in the conference, the top teams in MLS. Now, like you said, you go to NYCFC at Yankee Stadium, which is one of the toughest places to play in the league. You're at Columbus, who maybe are a little bit shaky. They certainly aren't the team that they've been in past years. The Crew aren't. I mean, they got shelled by Inter Miami. Maybe Miami's coming up. Miami, our Messi Suarez finding form once again. We're talking about their demise earlier this season. I feel like they've taken that and said, don't bury us yet. But you have 3 games right out the bat that you have very little margin for error for, and these aren't easy teams by any stretch of the imagination. Certainly, you'll have a better chance against DC and Toronto at the end of this road stretch than you would against these 3 teams coming up. But you have to get something out of these matches. You have to you can't go on this stretch and get no points because you're pretty much out of the playoffs if you do that. You'll have the summer window coming up soon. You'll have some opportunities to improve your team, but if you're well below the playoff line, what good will it do for 2026 or 2025, I should say? So definitely something to bear in mind as, again, we're like halfway through the season and half of the season to go. Jackson, before we continue, we have to talk about Sweetwater Brewing Company at sweetwaterbrew.com.
We
A
do.
partner of Scarves and Spikes. So thanks for Sweetwater Brewing Company and their support. Go to sweetwaterbrew.com for more information on them, their brews, their beverages,
and visit the tap room, visit the brewery.
Yeah.
I mean, let me tell y'all, if y'all have not had Sweetwater Brewery's Brussels sprouts, y'all are missing
they have
out.
Brussels sprouts
Those
there?
things are divine. Oh yeah, crispy fried Brussels sprouts. They have a like a Thai sauce
Wow.
on top to die for. I could eat those every day.
It's right near the Beaufort Spring connector, right there in the Lindbergh area, right? Off of Otley Drive.
Yeah, the food is delicious.
Yeah.
And you can add it with a nice Sweetwater brew, a nice American lager, a Rowdy Peach.
There you go.
I mean, you're set.
There you go. So go to sweetwaterbrew.com for more information on their brewery, their drinks, events they have coming up, and all the great stuff. Thanks again to Sweetwater Brewing Company for their support of Scarves and Spikes. Go to scarvesandspikes.com for our coverage of the Red Bulls match, all the other matches coming up. Of course, there's a break, so we'll have content throughout the break to keep you tied over. There's a link to our store to get some merch, Scarves and Spikes merch. Certainly get that as well. Patreon.com/Scarves and Spikes. If you don't support us on Patreon, we'd love for you to do that as well, starting at $1.17 a month. And follow us on social media. Follow us at Scarves, the letter N, Spikes on X. We're at scarvesandspikes.com on Blue Sky. Follow us there. I'm over there on Blue Sky at Sid H or SH Wrights, as well as X and Blue Sky SH Wrights. You are on Jackson_Popkin on Twitter, X. You're not on Blue Sky, by the way. I know this.
I may have an account. It is not very active, unfortunately.
That's fine.
Maybe a Threads too.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I have accounts everywhere.
Yeah. Just search.
There's only so many hours.
Yeah, definitely search for us on social. But Scarves, the letter N, Spikes on X, and then scarvesandspikes.com on Blue Sky. Scarves and Spikes on Instagram. follow us, search for our socials. We'll have a link to our website there as well, or at least to our social media channels on our website, I should say. Miguel Marone. Let's talk about him first.
That's where I was gonna go. I was gonna say, do we want to crack open the can of worms that is Miguel Almiron?
We've seen some kind of varying opinion in our chat. By the way, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or iHeart, definitely check out our YouTube page for the latest video content. Like, subscribe, share our content. But Miguel Marone, I mean, 17 matches in, and not to put the blame on one player, but you expected a lot more out of him. I mean, let's be honest, everybody did. I'm not of the
top 3 wingers.
Yeah,
Someone said that.
Someone that will go unnamed.
Not naming names. Not going to name names.
No, but I hate to keep dragging him up. Miguel Marone. I don't want to make a scapegoat out of anybody at this point in time.
No, not at all. You cannot pin any, like, not that you can't pin any, but you cannot pin the entirety of this team's form onto one player, let alone Miguel Almiron.
Right, exactly. But again, it goes back to all of your DPs. None of your DPs have really done anything this season. Latte Lot had 5 goals early on. He's had nothing so far. And
Alexi has really just been this past week.
Yeah, he has.
I mean, he had a great week.
He did.
Great couple games at home there.
And, that does wonders for your confidence. So if you're Latte Lot, if you're Miggy, maybe you need that one goal, that one moment to really get your confidence going. Miguel Marone, he doesn't seem like a player who's lacking for confidence. I think that the giveaway was obviously a poor one. I don't think he's going to go back.
Yeah, that's not going to help your confidence whatsoever.
Certainly not. But at the same time, I think he's a player that knows how to bounce back. He's been through, much worse than that. So he knows how to bounce back. He knows how to come back. But as a whole, again, you need your DPs to perform. I feel like it's more cause and effect more than anything. Are the players below the DPs putting the DPs in the position to succeed? It's the coaching staff putting the DPs in the position to succeed. Certainly, this new technical wrinkle that has come out has benefited Alexi. But what do you do with Almiron? Where do you put him in the lineup? What do you do with Latte Lot? What if this goalless streak continues? What if he continues? What if he does start to get service and he still can't score? Those are questions.
And meanwhile, you've got Jamal TRA, who has scored. Not last match, but
back-to-back
he has scored how many goals? Yeah, back-to-back before that. And he's great coming in off the bench. I mean, after you deal with Latte Lot for 70, 75 minutes, you bring on Jamal TRA. He's bound to find you a goal somewhere against a tired back line. But to go back to Miguel, I pulled up his FBref per 90 stats against similar positions. It says attacking midfielders and wingers. The percentile for expected assists for Miguel Almiron. Right. You want to take a guess at what percentile Miguel Almiron might be for expected assists, XA?
I feel like pretty high when it comes to
pretty high.
Well, pretty high as in relations to it's not in a good spot.
To other wingers. So Miguel Almiron's percentile for expected assists, the second percentile, 2.
Okay.
It is low. It is low.
Yeah.
But when you look at progressive passes, he's in the 96th percentile of all players. And his pass completion is 88th percentile.
Okay.
So you're looking at a player who's not lacking for technical ability.
Right.
He can complete pass. He has almost 80% pass completion on the season. And in terms of passes attempted, he's up there too. So that tells you that he's completing a lot of his passes, and a lot of his passes are moving down the field. You're not seeing a bunch of back passes from Miguel Almiron. Yeah. Now, when he gets into the final third and he's looking for that final ball, it seems like, and this isn't solely a trait that Miguel Almiron has, indecision in the final third, whether to shoot, whether to pass, what type of pass,
Right.
I mean, we've seen how many chances that Atlanta United has had where the ball goes into the 18, come away with not even a look at goal.
Right.
You should not be in the opponent's 18-yard box and not even have a whiff of a shot.
Yeah.
And those final balls aren't coming from Miguel Alexi to find Latte Lath. Latte Lath can finish. I mean, we saw him score basically all but score against
Yeah.
Red Bulls. The ball fell right to him. He can put a ball away like the best of them. Getting that ball to him is another story entirely. And I don't know if that's we could look at how Miguel Almiron is played tactically in this lineup. I mean, he's very much a free floating player. And you know he has the ability to contribute from anywhere. But is the solution here to put a more structured role on Miggy's positioning, on what he's asked to do? Is he asked to do too much? Is it too vague?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I was going to bring that point, and Joe Patrick tweeted it out. Joe from Price Fan was friend of the show, but he came out with a stat on Miguel Almiron. Since he's been moved centrally as either number 10 or center forward, he has created 8 total chances, and his XA, you were talking about his XA, it's just 0.31. So you have to shine the light on Almiron at this point in time. You know, Dylas put him at the number 10, which fans were saying you got to put him at the number 10. He did that. You gotta. Well, I don't know. A lot of fans were saying you gotta start him in a dual strike partnership with Latte Lot, but he's done that, and you've won back-to-back matches before Red Bulls. But he hasn't again created. That XA is just very low, and Joe making the point too that Miggy's only goal is a redirection that he put in the back of the net. So it's just very puzzling. And again, you don't want to put this all on Miguel Almiron, but if you're a number 10, you have to play to a better level than you're playing when it comes to chance creation, because that's your job. That's your job as a number 10 to feed the striker. Of course, in the strike, you do strike partnership. That's a different story. But everyone's saying move him to the 10, move him to the 10, move him to the 10. Well, that happened, and what happened after that? Still not creating. So, it's just disappointing to see this from Almiron, especially when you have a striker like Latte Lot, who definitely is cut from a different cloth than Joseph. Certainly cut from a different cloth than Gigi. Different player, different kind of striker.
Different cloth than Adam John. We could go on.
Going down the list. But it's just a different type of player. But striker, regardless, needs service. He demands service. And if you're not giving him service, he can't score. And it's definitely not what we saw, that partnership between Almiron and Martinez. Certainly not. Miles away. And it's up to Ronny Deila to figure out what to do with him, where to put him, where he can succeed. Because, like I said on the 3 takeaways, you didn't bring Miguel Almiron in as a hood ornament. You brought him in to help your team and get them better. And I would argue he hasn't made this team better. And again, I have to stress, this isn't Miguel Almiron's fault, but we're just talking about him right now. He's not made this team better. He was brought in to do so. He's not done it. I think everybody can agree with that.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, if you were to have Miggy on the bench for, either of these last couple games, is the result different? Do you end differently? And there's a question there to be asked if maybe you come in 2 weeks from now, week and a half from now at Yankee Stadium, and you have a front 2 of Latte Lath and TRA, and you have Miggy come on and gets the tired legs rather than TRA. Miggy's he isn't the finisher up top. I mean, you've seen him up top with Latte Loth. You've
Yeah.
seen him down back in the midfield. You've seen him out wide, and it hasn't clicked.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate to see. I mean, the last thing anybody wants is to taint Miguel Almiron's legacy with Atlanta
Right.
United. It's the absolute last. He is on the Mount Rushmore of Atlanta United players.
Absolutely.
And to bring him back, and I've seen it people say that it was a mistake to bring him back. I've seen people to bring him back is such a gamble
Right.
to that legacy. I mean, do I think he was a pure nostalgia signing? No.
No.
I mean, he was coming off of a campaign with Newcastle in the Premier League. I mean, you don't just bring in a player from the Premier League like that and be like, oh, whatever. Like, he only played for Newcastle. Like, no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
But when you see a player like that, the legacy that he holds with this team, with his fan base, I mean, was he ever going to be in like a carbon copy of 2018? No.
No.
But it hurts to see his legacy with some fans tainted by this run of poor form. Now he's here for another, what is it, 3-year contract?
Yeah,
This isn't
3 or
a-
4.
Yeah, this isn't a short little touch and go signing here. I mean,
Yeah.
he's here to stay. He lives, breathes Atlanta United. He loves it here. He wants to succeed here. We want him to succeed here.
Yeah.
It's just hard to find his best fit, and that might be, despite all the other tactical things you've settled on, that's one of the more outstanding things is, where does Miguel Almiron fit in this lineup? Because he's a huge
Yeah.
piece to not have in your lineup. But
Yeah.
I mean, how does this team function the best? I mean, at this point in the season, you have to look at that from a pure performance standpoint, despite it all. So
Yeah.
rough to see.
Yeah, no, definitely is. So talking about tactics and where to put him, was kind of maybe get close to the end here. So let's take a look at what Dyla said after the match against Red Bulls, and he said, he thinks he's found a system that suits the players. It's just about consistency. It's just about training. It's about the defense. He was critical of the defense. He said, Atlanta had its chances against Red Bulls, but didn't take them. But he was critical of the defense. He obviously wasn't thrilled with the defense. Says the team needs to press tough up front, and the team had to drop deeper in the defense due to fatigue. But I think this 3-5-2 that Atlanta United have employed over these past few matches doesn't look like it's going anywhere for a while, and I'm okay with that. It looks like, to Dyla's point, it looks like it suits the players a little bit better. Now you go into the break, of course, you're without a few players due to the international break. When they come back, though, you have this opportunity to really refocus. A lot of these players rethink where they need to be for the rest of the season. You'll have some more time to train in this formation. But I think 3-5-2 at this point is the way to go. And Dylas said that. I don't think, if it doesn't succeed, I think it'd be foolish to go away from it immediately. I'm sure there'll be the temptation to go away from it since they lost to the Red Bulls. But I think you keep it. I think you stay where they are. Got to find out the best way to get Latte Lot more involved. You look at Miggy. You got get him in form. Alexi, you have to see if he can continue the form that he showed certainly the week leading up to the Red Bulls match, and definitely get the defense fixed. You mentioned Stian earlier in the show. How long does Stian need before he gets back? I think he'll be a welcome addition back to this lineup whenever he does get back. He just got to keep him healthy. But if you're able to get those things fixed and get those things moving in the right direction, that tough schedule or no tough schedule, I think you have half a chance to really move up the standings. Maybe add a piece in the summer window that can benefit your team, maybe in the wing or somewhere else that you really need it. And you maybe have a chance of moving up the table, but you're positioning yourself well for a playoff spot. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it'll be tough. I mean, you're playing teams. I mean, it's not hard to say that you're playing a team ahead of you in the table at this point. I mean, you're pretty far down there. But you've shown you can get some wins over some of the top teams in the conference. You have a big stretch coming up. I mean, let's see, you are sitting 8 points behind the 9th and final playoff spot for that wild card game. And you're even on games with most other games played with most other teams.
Yeah,
it's an uphill battle for sure. You need to start hitting those points, getting that. I mean, the pace you need to pick up points. I mean,
yeah.
You need well over 2 points per game moving forward, and you're halfway through the year. The more losses you get, the further out of reach a playoff spot becomes.
Right.
And a lot of teams ahead of Atlanta United got wins over the weekend. And you saw DC beat Cincinnati. Chicago beat Orlando. And then New England beat Montreal.
Yeah.
And that doesn't help at all, considering Montreal is below you.
Right.
So, I mean, it's a competitive Eastern Conference this year. And so for Atlanta United to have the start that they had and still try to break in is an uphill battle for sure. I don't know how competitive they can make it, but I mean the upcoming games will be kind of your make or break. I mean, you can put the other teams in the conference on notice if you go down to Miami and beat Inter Miami, if you can go to Columbus and beat Columbus. Win at Yankee Stadium. Who does that? If you can put together more showcase wins, especially away from home, because you'll need road wins at this point. You can't rely on your home matches to be where you pick up the points. And as great as those 2 wins were, you can't rely on home field advantage anymore. You have to be able to show up to these stadiums with and don't hold punches. I mean, if you go out and shoot yourself in the foot in the 3rd minute, I mean,
battle back.
That you just got to go for it. You gotta throw numbers. I mean, what's going to be the difference with a 3-0 to a 5-0 loss in that case? You need to, I mean, get your rest in and then come out of the gate full throttle in order to make a case for yourself. Otherwise, you'll just get left behind in this conference this year.
And just kind of wrapping us up here, you have to look at this as one step at a time. What's the easiest way to eat an elephant, right? One step at a time. You can't do it all at once. It's going to be step by step. You can't make up 8 points in one game, right? It's critical that you make up this 8 points right now, but you're not going to do it in one night. You got to take it step by step. This is, we keep talking about the schedule. Not only these are away matches, these are very tough matches. NYCFC at Yankee Stadium, I mean, they're pretty much unplayable at Yankee Stadium ever since it opened, or ever since they started playing there. Well, they've lost 3 matches, I'll say that. So not impossible to beat New York City at Yankee Stadium. And In fact, let me just confirm that is at Yankee Stadium. I think it is.
It is.
I mean,
It is.
it is. Okay. Okay.
Not
But I
Citi
mean,
Field.
again, yeah, go Mets. Not impossible to beat them at Yankee Stadium 2018, but still, I mean, it's a tough ask for any team that goes into that stadium. Then, of course, you have Columbus. Then, of course, you have Miami, which are pretty much your two toughest matches on the schedule right now. Not only that, they're away. Columbus is Columbus. You know what to expect from them. Miami is finding its form, it looks like. Messi and Suarez have sort of regenerated. So these are two dangerous matches that unfortunately have fallen at the stretch of the season for Atlanta United. But again, you have to just take it one step at a time. You absolutely have to get something against NYC. You absolutely do. Columbus and Miami. Hopefully, you get something out of that. I'm very doubtful, obviously, right now, but stranger things have happened. I mean, look at the playoffs last season. Everybody thought Atlanta had no chance, and we all know what happened against Miami. Then you have DC, and then you have TFC, which I feel like are your biggest matches of the season at this point in time, because TFC at this point are 4 points behind you on the standings, and DC are a point ahead of you on the standings. So obviously, those two matches are those two matches, but you got to take it one step at a time against three very, very credible opponents that are no slouches. You need a few miracles here coming up. Well, maybe not miracles, but you need a few things to fall in your favor.
Some more red cards.
Yeah, hopefully, especially Miami. But you need a few things to go against the grain for you to come out of this away stretch and come back home with an opportunity to hopefully move up the standings. Because, like I said, if you come out of this away stretch with absolutely nothing, you're done. There's no playoffs, and who'd have thought we'd be talking about this with the amount of money that Atlanta United paid for this attack? Any last thoughts before we get out of here?
I know I forgot to mention Doug Roberson's article on the AJC about the international call-ups. We've got Miggy and Latte Loth both called up to their national teams for the next week. And if they can go have a change of scenery and find some type of confidence, I mean, clear your head. And sometimes the best thing you need is a change of scenery to get your head on straight and come back well. I don't know who Paraguay has. I think they have like Uruguay and someone else.
Brazil.
Oh, Brazil. Maybe not.
Uruguay at home and then Brazil away. So
maybe I spoke
kind
too
of speaks
soon.
for itself.
But Ivory Coast has New Zealand and Canada, and playing New Zealand. If Latte Loth can get some minutes with Ivory Coast and bag some goals for his country, come back home to Atlanta feeling great. Maybe there could be something on for the two of them. For the rest of the month.
Yeah, and again, that's CONMEBOL qualifying for Paraguay. Paraguay right now 5th on the table, 11 points with Uruguay and Brazil. So that's a 6-pointer against Uruguay at home for Paraguay. But they're in the thick of it as far as World Cup standings are concerned. Argentina are in first by a long shot by 8 points. And then you mentioned these two friendlies against New Zealand and Canada for Ivory Coast. So they don't have World Cup qualifying in CAF until September. So just to kind of add more context to that, but certainly bigger matches for Paraguay. We expect to see Almiron in both of those matches against Uruguay and Brazil, and maybe Latte Loth against New Zealand and Canada. We know Zaha will be there for Ivory Coast. Probably Snapchatting as well. The man is a very heavy Snapchat user. We found out.
Did we all leave Snapchat like a few years ago?
Right. But you still Apparently, it's still a thing in his part of the world, but
Does he have streaks?
right.
He's sending streaks to his teammates.
I have no idea. You probably know more about it than I do. Thanks for joining us, everybody. MLS Monday, we'll have that on YouTube as well, of course, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or iHeart. Definitely follow us there, like our content on there. Just search for Scars and Spikes. Thanks to those of you that follow us on there. Of course, like and subscribe on YouTube. Share our content. Definitely helps us grow as we try to become your number one source for related to that news and information. ScarsandSpikes.com, patreon.com/Scars and Spikes. All that good stuff. Sunday. Join us there.
Yeah, and let's go Whitecaps.
Will we be talking about a Whitecaps victory and the CONCACAF Champions Cup final?
Vancouver Whitecaps, never doubted them.
What a story that would be, though. What a story that would be.
Yeah, kicking off any moment now. So go tune in wherever you can find the CCC.
Exactly. Thanks, everyone.